Jaya Jaya Shri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Shri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Shri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. So we are continuing with Sri Chaitanya Charitamrta, Adi Lila, chapter 4, and we continue with verse number 42. Dasya Sakhya Vatsalya Arayi Shringara Chari Prema Chaturvidha Bhakta I Adhara. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. 4 kinds of devotees are the receptacles of the 4 kinds of mellows in love of God, namely servitude, friendship, parental affection, and conjugal love. Mamagan Yananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmanitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So today the verses that we will cover are of very high level. You know, we will hear about the pure love of the gopis and Srimati Radharani with Krishna. If you have noticed, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Srila Prabhupada himself, they did not talk about this topic in public. So my humble suggestion will be that for these few verses, let us hear them and appreciate them and respectfully try to understand them. We can read it, we can hear about it, we can talk about it. You know, this is just the intellectual access to the knowledge, but there is no experience. At least I don't have experience except experience of sadhana bhakti. So I will not be able to give any realizations on this topic about this pure love of Krishna with his gopis and Srimati Radharani, because this is a very high level subject matter. And I don't myself feel qualified to speak about it. Now we notice that in the previous verse number 41, we talked about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, how he assumed the sentiment of a devotee and he preached devotional service while personally practicing it also. He was practicing bhakti to show us how to do bhakti. And what was his mission? It was just to enhance love for Krishna, to show us how we can increase our love for Krishna. And actually, that should be the purpose of human life. The goal of human life is that. The goal is to attain pure love for Krishna. And what did Chaitanya Mahaprabhu do? He came personally down just to distribute love for Krishna for free. No charges at all. We have noticed in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna demands, surrender, only then I will help you. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, no demands at all. Jare dekho tare kaho Krishna Pradesh. Whomsoever you see or meet, just explain to them about Krishna consciousness. And what did Srila Prabhupada do? He continued Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mission of Krishna consciousness. He showed how a conditioned soul in this material world can become perfect and attain love for Krishna. So from Bhagavad Gita also we've learned that first of all, we need to understand who we really are, our real identity. And the whole purpose of Bhagavad Gita was so that we could build a relationship with Krishna. So here in today's verse, we see 4 kinds of devotees he's talking about. In other words, 4 out of the 5 are receptacles of love of Krishna. That is, we Dasyaras, Sakyaras, Vatsalyaras, and Madhuryaras. Now, Shantaras is not mentioned because it's a neutral one, whereas the other four rasas, they are like kind of a personal relationship with Krishna. One can see Krishna as a friend, oneself as a servant of Krishna, as a parent of Krishna, or a lover of Krishna. So the goal is to have a loving relationship with Krishna, because that's the only thing that will qualify us to go back to Godhead. We are his parts. We belong with him in the spiritual world. But here we are in a foreign place, where we do not belong at all. So when we are, excuse me, when we are with Krishna, then we are complete. Srila Prabhupada has given this example many times, that the hand, when it is cut off from the body, it's separate from the body, the hand has no value at all. Similarly, we being separate away from Krishna is not a good situation. We need, just like the hand needs to be with the body, so also we, spirit souls, we need to be with Krishna himself. Then there's going to be permanent happiness. Verse number 43. Nija nija bhava sabe shrishta karimane, nija bhave kare Krishna sukha asvadane. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Each kind of devotee feels that his sentiment is the most excellent, and thus in that mood he tastes great happiness with Lord Krishna. Now one may say, if a devotee is thinking my sentiment is better than yours, thinking this way is not pride. It is just a deeper connection with Krishna. It's not a competition. In fact, Prabhupada says spiritual competition is healthy. But here that is not the consciousness. It is not a competition, but a genuine feeling for Krishna. Each devotee can reach that stage of pure love. And pure love is where a devotee can taste real permanent happiness. Happiness of being with Krishna. Just as Srila Prabhupada used to say, I'm always with Krishna. That's what he would say. I'm always with Krishna. I'm always in touch with Krishna. So pure devotion can bring one to that perfect level. And as we have read in Bhagavad Gita also, Susukham Karta, Susukham. This process is very joyfully performed. It gives great joy, great happiness. Why? Because it is related to Krishna. And anything that's mundane in this material world will give happiness sometimes, but we know that happiness has a beginning and an end, which means it's temporary. Why? Because it's not connected to Krishna. Only when we connect ourselves with Krishna that we will experience permanent happiness. Otherwise, no. Next verse, number 44. Tatastaha ya mani vichara yadikari sabarasa haite shingare adhikamadhuri. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. But if we compare the sentiments in an impartial mood, we find that the conjugal sentiment is superior to all the others in sweetness. Purport. No one is higher or lower than anyone else in transcendental relationships with the Lord, for in the absolute realm, everything is equal. But although these relationships are absolute, there are also transcendental differences between them. Thus, the transcendental relationship of conjugal love is considered the highest perfection. So Srila Prabhupada very nicely explains in the purport that no rasa is higher or lower. Why? Because it's in relationship with Krishna. Everything is equal in relationship with Krishna. Just like the gopis, their relationship with Krishna is considered the highest. Madhurya ras, conjugal sentiment. But the important point to understand from this verse is that we should build a relationship with Krishna if we still haven't. That is the only way we can purify ourselves and come to the stage of pure love. That is the purpose of human life. Like Rupa Goswami explains, Adau Shraddha Tatha Sadhu Sangha. So first we have basic faith, then we do Sadhu Sangha, Bhajana Kriya. And what is the highest point there? Prema, love for Krishna. So, each of these rasas that are mentioned, 4 out of the 5, they all give pleasure to both the pure devotees as well as Krishna. That relationship is transcendental. It's on the spiritual platform. It's of the highest perfection of life. Now, cowherd friends of Krishna, they are very happy just playing with Krishna. They are blissful. Arjuna is blissful just being a friend of Krishna. So these sentiments, these rasas, they are not something that one can force oneself into a particular rasa. Oh, I only want to be in Madhurya ras. No, it doesn't happen like that. Oh no, I want to be a mother or father of Krishna. Bhakti is not forced. These are natural sentiments that one develops. And according to this verse, no rasa is higher or lower. They are all on the transcendental platform. So if one sincerely follows the path of Bhakti Yoga and sincerely follows Guru and Krishna on the instructions of the Guru, very important, then one is on the right path. Then Krishna will give the guidance. Krishna is the one who has guided us to a bona fide spiritual master. Now this spiritual master will guide us back to Krishna. So all that the disciple needs to do is just be serious and sincere. That's about it. Nothing else is required. Excuse me. I remember hearing or reading, I'm not sure, where Srila Prabhupada says, Bhakti is not casual. It's not something we do on weekends, or sometimes we do it, or whenever it's convenient, or whenever we have time. No, bhakti is not casual. If we have that consciousness that let me first finish all the other material things that I have to do, and then if and when I find time, I will chant or I will read or I'll do bhakti, whatever, then Krishna will also reciprocate in the same way. He'll say, I am also a busy person. I have so many things to do. I have so many living entities to take care of. When and if I have time, I will look into your problems or whatever it may be. No, bhakti is not casual at all. It is something that should be our priority, because it is only bhakti yoga that can help us go back to Godhead. All these material activities, the accumulation of possessions, or trying to be the master of different whatever different aspects, these are not going to help us. We have seen so many famous people becoming famous, or achieving so much power and fame and money and everything. Where are they now? Does anyone remember them? No. But this spiritual bank balance, that we will take with us. If we are unsuccessful in finishing our business in this life, at least we will get birth in a devotee family so we can continue. What are we doing today? We are continuing what we left off in our previous life. Wherever we left off our bhakti in our past life, today we are here trying to continue. So why not finish the business in this life and go back to the spiritual world. Next verse, number 45. Yathotaram sausvata vishesholasamayaphi ratirvasanya swadvi bhasate kapi kashyachit. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Increasing love is experienced in various tastes, one above another. But that love which has the highest taste in the gradual succession of desire manifests itself in the form of conjugal love. Perfect. This is a verse from Srila Rupa Goswami's Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 2.5.38. So, again, as I mentioned in the beginning of this class, that these verses that we are reading and hearing today, these are of very high level, talking about pure love of the gopis and Srimati Radharani, pure devotees with Krishna. So these verses are something that we can hear and we can talk about it in the sense hear or speak it or, try to understand it, but we can only do it theoretically. Only theoretically we can understand this because there is no realization. I'm talking about myself. There's no realization, so we cannot really elaborate on it or, talk a lot about it, no? So this increasing love is experienced in various tastes, various rasas. And this is for those who have reached that pure love, the stage of pure love for Krishna. Now, how can they understand or realize it? It's only the pure devotees who can do it because they have qualified themselves. And this verse is talking about the highest taste in Madhurya Ras. And Srila Prabhupada mentions in the purport with a reference from Nectar of Devotion, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. We all have, most of us, I guess, have read Nectar of Devotion. It's all about pure love for Krishna. Theoretically, it's okay to understand. Yes, maybe we can understand. But realization, that will happen only by the mercy of Krishna. When Krishna will see our sincere endeavor to understand him, then he will bestow his mercy so that we can understand. Next verse, number 46. Ateva madhura rasa kahitara nama swakiya parakiya bhave dvividha samsthana. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Excuse me. Therefore, I call it Madhuras. It has two further divisions, namely wedded and unwedded love. So these verses, they are getting more and more on the higher level. Now Madhurya Ras is going deeper. What we have heard is that Madhurya Ras is the highest. It's already deep, but now it's going deeper. And this Madhurya Ras is called Parakiya Ras, where the gopis consider Krishna as their lover, as their paramour. And so there is wedded love and there is unwedded love. Now the gopis, they are not married to Krishna. And that is unwedded love, and that is Parakiya Ras. Whereas Swakiya Ras is which is found in the wives of Lord Krishna in Dwarka. That is Swakiya Ras, where Krishna is married to those wives. So this is where it's going deeper. It's still going to go deeper. Let's go to verse number 47. Parakiya bhavayati rasira ullasa rajavina ihara anyatra nahivasa. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. There is a great increase of mellow in the unwedded conjugal mode. Such love is found nowhere but in Raja. So, Parakiya Ras we can find only in Vrajadham, that Madhurya Ras, unwedded Madhurya Ras. And that is where, as I was saying, the gopis, they considered Krishna as their lover or paramour. Only in Vraja. We will not find Parakya Ras in Dwarka or anywhere else. And it is mentioned that, of course, we can understand that Vrajadham is non-different from Golokadham. It's the same. When Krishna, he comes down to this material world, he brings part of Goloka Vrindavan on the material planet, on this earthly planet. And it's this Vrindavan, this Vrajadham, is not different from Goloka Vrindavan. Next verse. Rajavadhu Ganera Ai Bhava Niravadhi Taramade Sri Radhaya Bhavira Avadhi. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. This mood is unbounded in the damsels of Raja, but among them it finds its perfection in Sri Radha. Now we start talking about Srimati Radharani. So this mood, it's unbounded in gopis. It's not possible to measure. It's that high level. And we have heard that the topmost gopi is Srimati Radha Rani. Why did Chaitanya Mahaprabhu come down? Why did Krishna come down as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? To relish that love, that nectar, that taste that Srimati Radharani experiences in pure love for Krishna, pure Madhurya Ras. That is what he wanted to relish. So we can see that no one can come equal to or go above the level of love that Radharani has for Krishna. Nobody. Amongst all the gopis, she is the topmost and she loves Krishna the most. Text number 49. Praudha nirmala bhava prema sarvotama Krishnera madhurya rasa asvada karana. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Her pure, mature love surpasses that of all others. Her love is the cause of Lord Krishna's tasting the sweetness of the conjugal relationship. We have heard there are references in the scriptures that almost 540 years ago, Krishna himself came down as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to taste this sweetness that this verse is talking about. He wanted to taste, what does it feel like to love myself? Krishna is thinking. Radharani loves me so much. She's relishing so much sweetness and nectar. I want to taste the nectar of myself, my own self. And here this verse is saying Radharani's love is pure and mature. It's not kiddish. Like in the material world we see when the boy and the girl, they are, dating, or I don't know, whatever it's called. It's all very kiddish. Here's a rose for you. Here's this for you. Here's that for you. I love you till the moon and back. Whatever. That all is very material. Here, it's talking about mature love, pure and mature love, which is based on knowledge, which is not random, which is not a concoction or an interpretation. No, it is pure and mature. And no one, like this verse says, no one can come close to the intensity of Radharani's love for Krishna. Nobody can come close to that. That is the level of pure love of Srimati Radharani for Krishna. We'll do verse number 50. This will be the last one for today. Ateva se bhava angikara kari sadhilena nija vancha gauranga Shri Hari. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Therefore, Lord Gauranga, who is Shri Hari himself, accepted the sentiments of Radha and thus fulfilled his own desires. Purport. One of the four kinds of reciprocation of loving service, Dasya, Sakya, Vatsalya, and Madhurya. Madhurya is considered the fullest, but the conjugal relationship is further divided into two varieties, namely Swakiya and Parakiya. Swakiya is a relationship with Krishna as a formally married husband, and Parakiya is a relationship with Krishna as a paramour. Expert analysts have decided that the transcendental ecstasy of the Parakiya mellow is better because it is more enthusiastic. This phase of conjugal love is found in those who have surrendered to the Lord in intense love, knowing well that such illicit love with a paramour is not morally approved in society. The risks involved in such love of Godhead make this emotion superior to the relationship in which such risk is not involved. The validity of such risk, however, is possible only in the transcendental realm. Swakiya and Parakiya, conjugal love of Godhead, have no existence in the material world, and Parakiya is not exhibited anywhere in Vaikuntha, but only in the portion of Goloka Vrindavan known as Braja. Some devotees think that Krishna is eternally the enjoyer in Goloka Vrindavan, but only sometimes comes to the platform of Braja to enjoy Parakiya Ras. The six Goswamis of Vrindavan, however, have explained that Krishna's pastimes in Braja are eternal, like his other activities in Goloka Vrindavan. Vraja is a confidential part of Goloka Vrindavan. Krishna exhibited his Vraja pastimes on the surface of this world, and similar pastimes are eternally exhibited in Vraja in Goloka Vrindavan, where Parakiya Ras is ever existent. In the third chapter of this epic, Srila Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami has explicitly accepted the fact that Krishna appears in this material world at the end of the Dwapara age of the 28th Chaturyuga of Vaivasvatamanu and brings with him his Vrajadham, which is the eternal abode of his highest pastimes. As the Lord appears by his own internal potency, so he also brings all his paraphernalia by the same internal potency without extraneous help. It is further stated here in the Caitanya Caritamrta that the Parakiya sentiment exists only in that transcendental realm and nowhere else. This highest form of ecstasy can exist only in the most confidential part of the transcendental world. But by the causeless mercy of the Lord, we can have a peep into that invisible Raja. The transcendental mellow relished by the gopis in Vraja is super excellently featured in Srimati Radharani. Mature assimilation of the transcendental humor of conjugal love is represented by Srimati Radharani, whose feelings are incomprehensible even to the Lord himself. The intensity of her loving service is the highest form of ecstasy. No one can surpass Srimati Radharani in relishing the qualities of the Lord through this supreme transcendental mellow. Therefore, the Lord himself agreed to assume the position of Radharani in the form of Lord Sri Gauranga. He then relished the highest position of Parakya Ras as exhibited in the transcendental abode of Braja. So we can see here, this verse, of course, is also giving us reference. Well, who is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Krishna himself. He came down and his purpose was to relish the love that Srimati Radharani has for Krishna himself. So Krishna himself in the mood of Radharani came here more than 500 years ago just to relish her pure love. So there is so much knowledge given even by Srila Prabhupada in this purport. He's talking about Madhurya Ras as the fullest one. We of course, few verses, one or two verses previous to this, we heard about Swakiya Ras and Parakya Ras. But between the two, Parakya is better. Why? Because there is more enthusiasm. There is intense love involved. Srila Prabhupada was asked, I want to be enthusiastic in Krishna consciousness. How do I do that? Srila Prabhupada says, in the beginning, you pretend to be enthusiastic. Then gradually, by the mercy of Guru and Krishna, you will become enthusiastic. So here, Madhurya Ras is considered the fullest and the highest because there is a lot of enthusiasm. In the purpose, Srila Prabhupada says, illicit love or love outside of marriage, it's not approved in the society. But we cannot compare that with the love of the gopis for Krishna or love of Srimati Radharani with Krishna. No, their love is pure, it's unadulterated. Their only purpose is to please Krishna, not themselves. In the material world, what we call love is actually lust. It is not love. There's no purity. There's only exploitation. There's only what's in it for me. I want this person so that I can enjoy. That consciousness is not there that I want to give pleasure. It is how can I get the pleasure. So the pure love of the gopis and Srimati Radharani, there is intensity in that. And their only goal is to please Krishna and not themselves. And Srila Prabhupada in the purport, he's talking about taking risk in Parakya Ras. And that is why that emotion is considered superior. Srila Prabhupada has given an example previously in one of his lectures where he says that if the wife has a lover outside of marriage, she is very careful that the husband doesn't catch her, doesn't find out that, okay, she's having an affair outside of marriage. So what will she do? She will cook all his favorite dishes, serve him, try to be a superhuman wife kind of, Why that extra service? Why that enthusiasm is there? Because of the attraction towards another person outside of marriage. This is not to be compared with what the gopis and Srimati Radharani have for Krishna. You see, so both Parakya and Swakiya, they are both only on the transcendental realm. They have nothing to do with this material world. You see, and the Parakya and Swakiya Rasa, they are only on the level of spirituality. So we'll find them only in the spiritual world or in, holy places like in Rajadham, there is Parakya Ras. In Dwarka Dham, there is Swakiya Ras. So, of course, Srila Prabhupada has given this mundane example of the wife, who has a lover outside of marriage, which is not acceptable in this material world, in this society. But here we are talking about something very different, and that is the pure love of Srimati Radharani and the gopis. So Prabhupada makes another important point in this purport, and he says that this Parakya Ras is only in Goloka Vrindavan. It's not in Vaikuntha. In Vaikuntha, we have heard there is awe and reverence. Everyone is sitting down in meditation, worshipping the Lord, Lord Vishnu, Lord Narayana. But in Goloka Vrindavan, the pure devotees can do anything they want. They can play with Krishna, talk with him, sleep with him, whatever they want, they can do. There is no restrictions at all. So that is why it is said Parakya Ras is only in Goloka Vrindavan, but not in Vaikuntha. And we have heard Krishna never leaves Rajadham. Krishna never leaves Vrindavan. Even when he came down 5,000 years ago, he never left Vrindavan. He's always there. He's eternally existing over there. How is that possible? Because as Srila Prabhupada says in the purport, this Vrajadham is actually a part of Goloka Vrindavan. That is why it is said that whenever we go to visit the holy Dham, Vrajadham or Vrindavan, need to be very, very careful because it's non-different from Goloka Vrindavan. It's part of Goloka Vrindavan. So we can see these verses that we heard today, they are like showing a window to Goloka Vrindavan. And I was thinking about this point wherein if Krishna cannot understand Radharani's love, who are we? How can we understand? If Krishna himself, how can we understand the intensity of Radharani's love for Krishna? When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to this earthly planet, he just came to relish that highest Parakya Ras he wanted to relish. And we find the same one in Rajadham. So all these, they are very high level spiritual subject matters. All we can do is we can hear about it attentively, but the realization, so theoretically we heard everything today, but the realization of this topic will come only by the mercy of Krishna. As Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, that he's the one who can reveal himself to a devotee. It is up to him. He decides. All the devotees that they can do is sincerely and seriously try to follow the instructions of Guru and Krishna and leave the result to Krishna. Let Krishna, decide what he wants to do with us. Like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, of course, he's Krishna himself, and he says, do whatever you want to do with me. You want to embrace me, you want to throw me, you want to love, whatever you want to do. It's up to you, Krishna. It is all dependent on Krishna's desire, Krishna's will. So the verses that we covered today are very high level. They are talking about the pure love of gopis and Srimati Radharani with Krishna. As I mentioned, that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Srila Prabhupada did not discuss this in public. So whatever we have heard, let us appreciate it and try to understand. Intellectually, yes, we have access to this knowledge, but talking about my own self, I don't have experience of this. So it is not possible for me to give any realizations. So that's all we can do. Just hear it attentively and then leave it to Krishna to either give us the realization for this or not. So I'm going to end here. And if